Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Halo podcast. This is your host, Harshna. Hi, Karishma.
Hi, Harsha. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm very excited to be here.
I am actually very excited to have you. I think you were one of the first people that came to my mind that I wanted to do the podcast with. And that's because it's such an interesting journey. The fact that you, and this is where I really want to start, is you are at your dream job.
Yes.
What was that about? Why? How did that kind of lead to Faye?
So, I think from a very young age, I used to joke with my father and tell him, "What would I do one day with my career?" It was more like a taunt, or a joke rather. Like I'm gonna do something really big one day with my career. It used to be like the family running joke.
Was it like instinctive? Do you think at
It was
all?
very like masti. It was not serious. It was not
Yeah.
funny. It was like the running joke in my family or like with my father was if I would say, "Can I buy this?" And he'd be like, "No." Yeah, I'll be like, Watch me one day. I'll buy it myself. So it kind of started like at a very young age. I always knew that I want to do something of my own. And I specifically remember growing up a little bit of an insecure kid. And there was specifically, I remember this day in my life. I was getting ready for some Ganpati function in my house. And I picked up a lipstick for the first time in my life.
And how old were you?
15 maybe, 15. And put it on. And I remember not feeling so great that day. Just, I don't know why. And I put on that lipstick and I felt, oh my God, I look awesome. And it wasn't, I think for the first time in my 15 years of living, I felt like I looked good.
Great.
Not from the inside, not just from the outside, but also from the inside. And that made me feel like every person I know should experience
That joy.
confidence, that joy. And so for me, that was like that karmic connection with makeup that started. And I remember I wrote my college essay about my love for makeup.
Oh, really?
That's how I got, and I even got into my dream college on that essay. And then when I graduated college, I worked in consulting in the US, focused as much as I could on makeup as a category. So I worked with makeup brands as my clients. It was about almost 2 years in the US. And at some point, I felt, I think growing up again, I always felt like I wanted to live and build my life in the US. But I realized a few years into working there that I was very lonely and I was very unhappy with how hard I was working for somebody else. I remember thinking, without a plan, I'm going to come back to India and I'm going to figure it out. I miss my parents, I miss my family, I miss Indian people. I love being able to connect with someone on their joy of Indian food and Bollywood and being able to break into Hindi in the middle of a sentence, like those things that you can't get.
Yeah.
Even though I was living that dream life that I always wanted for myself, came back to India and everything just sort of pointed me in the direction of doing something of my own as opposed to...
Was that decision tough? Do you
It
think?
was the toughest decision I've ever made because I constantly remember thinking, why will anybody buy my beauty brand? I'm not an
And was it
actress.
still tough for you to move back to India? Because for me, I did the same thing, right?
Mhm.
Like I studied economics, and I did this. I worked at an advertising agency in the finance department, and I was like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
Like the one thing that I don't want to do is I don't want to work in finance. And at the time, I wanted to do something in art, and I'd gotten a job that I didn't want to take.
Yeah.
And just making that decision of like coming back to India and doing God knows what. Like at that point in time, I was like, what in the world am I going to do? But I was like, I'm just going to do something that like fuels my passion for whatever I choose to do that time, right?
Yeah.
And that decision was very hard.
It is definitely a very difficult decision because while I didn't have like zero clarity about what I wanted to do, I had very less clarity. I knew it had to be in makeup for sure.
That was your passion from day one.
From day one, I knew that I will either work in an MNC or at a beauty startup or do something to do with beauty, or I will start something of my own. Did I ever think that I'd start my own beauty brand? Never. That was never something that I even remotely imagined because I thought, who will buy from me? I'm nobody.
But I feel like that instinct, like for me, it was always intuition. I don't know. Were you intuitive?
It was definitely intuitive for me as well. Like I don't think I had the thought process that I would make it in life. I think when I started, I said my father and I would have banter. It was more so a desire, a very voracious desire for independence. I wanted to feel like I am the master of my decisions.
Yeah.
Whether it's where I live, how I spend my money, what I do day in and day out.
Yeah.
That's what drove me, that I want to be able to do what I want to be able to do.
Yeah.
But did I know, or did I think, or do I still think that I'm successful or I will succeed? Big question mark. But do I know that I will do everything I can to get there? Yes. So for me, I think a little bit of delusion helped. I was so like when I
Where
started-
did you get that clarity from? Where did that? What was that one day where you felt like, okay, I have to start Faye?
I sat down at a cafe, the next cafe, neighboring cafe to here, with a notebook, and I wrote down the reasons that someone will buy a beauty brand from a nobody, and I wrote down the reasons that a person will not buy,
Yeah.
and the pros outweighed the cons. I studied the journey of 10 beauty entrepreneurs, female beauty entrepreneurs, and all of them had succeeded. Now, again, delusion, right?
Yeah.
I maybe should have studied the story of people who didn't succeed.
Yeah.
But I chose to look at these 10 women, and I was like, they were nobody.
Yeah.
They didn't have celebrity names.
Yeah.
They did it based on product
Yeah.
and passion.
Yeah.
So I'll also do it on product and passion. Like that was it. I was sitting at Blue Tokai next door.
And
I
how
closed my
did you?
notebook, I went home and I said, Papa, I'm doing this. Like to my dad. He's
But-
like my sounding board.
But by like, okay, from a notebook to actually like making it what it is today has been what, a 4 years journey
4 years now. Yeah.
But what was that like? Did things start to fall into place on their own, do you feel?
No. So I think a few things fell into place. A few things still till today have not fallen into place.
Yeah.
And even I've chatted a lot
Yeah.
about what that means in life. So I think for me, how do I explain this? For the longest time, I think for a year, not almost a year, we were just looking for a manufacturer.
Yeah.
Because in 2017, when beauty brands were just starting to pick up, small beauty brands were starting
Yeah.
to pick up, manufacturers were not willing to take a risk on a nobody.
Yeah.
They wanted to know that you had institutional backing, you're the Hindustan Unilever,
Yeah.
Hindustan Unilever or Lakme or someone big,
Yeah.
right? So to get someone to even take my call was really hard.
And you said something about like doing smaller
MOQs, like we wanted
yeah.
to make smaller quantities, we wanted
Yeah.
to make new formulations. We wanted to basically disrupt how things were happening in beauty. And nobody was answering my calls, nobody was taking me seriously. And again, call it destiny, call it fate. We found out, we realized, my father and I, when I say me, that our next door neighbor, who had sold his house to us 5 years or 10 years ago, was part of the Marico family. Marico family manufactures cosmetics under several different brand names.
Well, really?
And we convinced him to put us in touch with one of his not sidey, I wouldn't say that's the wrong word, one of his manufacturers. And because of that one call that gentleman made, my career effectively changed. Right? So that man was there in my life. We lived opposite
Yeah.
him for 20 years. And suddenly that light bulb went off and it was like, okay, he was right there.
But you know, I feel like this happens so often, right?
Yeah.
When something is meant to happen, and this is just what I've seen with so many people now, it's like nothing is going as per plan. You can keep doing what you're doing and the hustle is real. You just need that one person. That one person will come from somewhere at some point and that makes all the difference.
Absolutely,
It's
yeah.
like the number of times I've actually seen this with so many of my different clients, and now the conversations that we tend to have is that we never thought. I think most successful entrepreneurs are like, we never thought we'd get to where we are because it just seems so unlikely.
Yeah.
But every now and then there's that one instance or one something that keeps us going.
Correct.
There's that one person that will believe in you and nobody believes in you. So even it could be that person for you that maybe if you've not gone through the means or the way that you did go through him, or that person didn't take a chance on you,
Yeah.
you would have probably not existed.
Absolutely. And there are several such people who've existed in this journey, right? My first investor, he invested in me when we were just an idea. We were doing nothing in revenue, like very little. And that investor is still a very big part of your journey. And he came in and changed our lives, right? There are those pivotal people that I feel come into your lives to serve a very specific purpose.
That's what I
in your
believe.
journey.
When I started doing astrology, for me, it was this luck that kind of really made me believe that there's something called as destiny in a way, because I'm like, everyone's working hard, right?
Everyone.
Everyone's working hard. You have an opportunity. So many people are willing to grab that opportunity and run with it. But people don't have that one person who wants to take a chance on them. If you didn't have that one investor who didn't believe in you, you could have given the same pitch to say 20 other people and they would have been like,
I pitched to 100.
Yeah.
All 100 told me, good luck.
good luck.
And that one
Person that believed in you, right? For me also, like when I was starting astrology, so many people were like, are you okay?
Yeah.
You know, are you sure you want to do this? Like where you studied economics and now you,
want to become an astrologer.
yeah, like, you know, it was, and honestly, even just my own confidence in, like you said, who was going to buy a product from a nobody? I was like, who's going to do readings with a 26-year-old astrologer? Nobody's going to take me seriously. But it was that, I think like 2-3 people in my life at that point in time, that really believed in me and they're like, you have to do this. Like, and that made all the difference. If it wasn't for them, I would have probably never done this.
For me, those people were my parents. It was like, they never even doubted for a minute that I would succeed. And I'm not saying that I've succeeded yet.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be done.
Yeah.
But with my parents, it's like, of course you'll figure it out. And that's the environment I was fortunate enough to grow up in.
Perfect.
You know, it was not like, okay, we'll think about this if you fail, we'll do that if you fail. No, we'll not discuss failure. We will succeed. You will work hard. Of course, everything doesn't come in life with hard work. There's luck, there's privilege, there's hard work, there's everything it makes here. But for me, my parents have served that purpose in my life of being
Like your support.
fully supportive to another level.
And did they make you fearless?
I don't think I'm a fearless person. I think I'm a very fearful person.
Fearful person, but why
when it
why
comes to my
say
career,
Yeah.
I think all entrepreneurs have to be a little fearless.
Fearless.
Right?
Yeah, that's why I said
That's
that.
an like I have a very critical team member. He counsels me once a week on Karishma ka fear kaise nikale iske body se. Matlab, because sometimes you're so driven by the what if,
Yeah.
you know. I can't make this financial decision for the company because what if it doesn't work
Out.
And he keeps telling me, you can't operate from a place of fear if you've chosen this industry.
Yeah.
Not industry, career.
Career. As an
so
entrepreneur, I feel like you have to at
Forget
some
it.
point be
if you're a darpoke, then
fearless.
don't be
Yeah,
an
yeah,
entrepreneur.
don't exactly.
Yeah, funnily, because I'm saying my father or my mother or anybody who works with me will laugh and be like, she's max darpoke. Because I'm very wary.
Yeah.
But I think there's a little bit of fake it till you make it over here, right?
Yeah.
You gotta just wear that cap. I wear a bangle on my hand that says fearless.
But how much of it do you think comes from like a gut feeling?
Everything comes from a gut feeling. You can't know the right decision,
Yeah.
right? And what you're doing today, you don't know if in 10 minutes or in 10 hours or in 20 minutes, life's gonna change by that. With entrepreneurship, I'll give you a very specific example, right? We're in the business of selling beauty products.
Yeah.
There have been multiple occasions in this journey where I felt like I don't know if it's gonna succeed. I don't know if we're gonna be able to recover from X setback or Y setback. And there have been instances where literally I've been discussing this with somebody. In 3 hours, the trajectory of my career changed.
Yeah.
Certain things happened.
I think we'd also spoken around a time where you were like
Very
going through a
uncertain.
difficult time with Faye and you were like, I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And then 2 months later, you were like, everything's changed.
It's the best it's ever been. And
Yeah.
I say this today, and yesterday it was the best it's ever been. Today it's the best it's ever been. So every day is getting better.
Yeah.
And touch wood, and thank God and destiny and luck and whatever it is,
Yeah.
right? But what I'm trying to say is it's such an uncertain space
Yeah.
that you have to just have blind faith and
You have
to. You have to just work.
Are you like detached to the outcome?
No.
Do you
I'm very attached.
like, and what is your outcome?
That's tough to explain. It's multiple outcomes.
Yeah.
I think one couple of very important things for me are the people who've been so pivotal in this journey,
Yeah.
getting financial outcomes that are fantastic, right? Because they have sacrificed a lot of time, money, effort, energy to
Yeah.
be in this company. Of course, same for me,
Yeah.
right? A certain financial outcome that gives me that independence I've always wanted. Another one is, I think a very important one is being able to look back and think that I gave other women that power that I felt 15 years
10
ago,
years ago.
right? Of I am confident, I'm beautiful, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Those are the two critical outcomes for me.
When I say outcome, I mean that have you ever thought of Faye as that, okay, this is where I want to go, but as of today, I just need to grind. and let things kind of fall into place. And then I'm going to take tomorrow as it comes.
That's how I operate.
Yeah,
typically.
because why I say that is because a lot of times, we're, even for me, when I say that with my podcast or with the kind of work I do, here is where I want to, at some point in my life, end up.
Yeah.
But I don't beat myself over it every day or think that should I have to achieve this
Great.
today or in like 6 months or 8 months.
Yeah.
For me, it's like, okay, I need to put out good work. I need to do justice to my clients.
Yep.
I need to create the kind of content that I am happy putting out and it would help someone. So for me, those outcomes are important. And the long-term goal, I'm like, whenever that happens, so I'm detached I'm sort of detached from how I'm going to get there.
Yeah.
And every day I just want to
Get closer.
just get closer. And I feel like I also want to feel like I'm doing something for it.
Yeah.
And honestly, I feel like God's been very kind. So things just kind of happen.
Yeah.
This is my belief. I feel like when you surrender, beautiful things happen.
I would agree. I think sometimes you just have to leave it to the universe.
Yeah.
Right? And I think as an entrepreneur, it's important to have that macro and micro focus both. Like today, you need to think about today. But every once in a while, you need to stop and think, okay, is this getting me closer to that that big goal that I have? Because it's very easy otherwise to get stuck in that day to day.
But have you ever manifested? Do you manifest
I
at all?
think my life has been a manifestation. Like I think that from that childhood dream of I'll be independent.
Yeah.
To achieving that independence.
Yeah.
I always dreamt that I would go to a particular college in the US. I got into one of those top 3 colleges.
Yeah.
I think I'm living my dream job.
What
I
is
have a
your
beauty brand.
But what is your process of manifestation? And ask this because there's so many versions of manifestation today.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone's working on their own way of manifestation. Some people have also got it strangely, I don't want to say wrong.
Yeah.
But they have I've seen it also go wrong with manifestation because people feel like, oh, this is some magic tool.
Yeah. I don't have to do anything. I just have to think it.
Yeah, but for you, what is it that you feel like has worked?
I actually tried to study manifestation a lot because I was very fascinated by the idea that you can convert your thoughts into your reality. And I tried the whole, I'm going to journal, I'm going to write, I'm going to keep saying that reality. But for me, I think that that didn't really work because it was too much work.
Yeah.
I felt like I'd rather focus that energy on doing the things that would get me there. So for me, my personal form of manifestation is like very, very faithful belief in that future. You just gotta believe. I gotta believe that I will find happiness. I gotta believe that I will have a successful career.
I completely agree with that.
And that's it. That's all it is. And my mother is like a very big source of that faith for me. Every time I'm down, she'll just say, have faith. And that's sometimes all I need.
I feel like when people talk about manifestation, they say journaling, I am feeling, they're literally writing down manifestations every day. I don't know who that works for.
Yeah.
But in my, and I've been fortunate enough to now be able to manifest
a lot of things.
And it's not maybe not the bigger things in life, but just even something as simple as me wanting ice cream. And then someone just coming in, literally getting that ice cream for me in the next 20 minutes.
Yeah.
For me, it's just not being attached to the outcome. So it's almost like I'm so grateful for the life I have today.
Absolutely.
Okay, there's so much gratitude. There's so much gratitude for having the opportunity to be able to do the kind of work that I do. I think there's nothing more fulfilling than a client calling me and saying, you really helped me with this, right? For me, that is the only outcome I am attached to.
Yeah.
Everything else, I'm just because it comes from my today being me being so content with what I have today, that whatever I feel like, oh, I would like this at some point in my life, even if it's for example, doing this podcast or being able to say publish a book at some point, it's just something that I believe will happen.
Eventually.
I don't try to micromanage it and try to be oh no, I have to achieve this in the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 2 years, 3 years. I'm just well, the universe, this is what I want at some point, and I truly believe that when the time is right, it will come to me on its own. And the belief is so real.
Yeah.
Like that,
Blind-
it's just
Yeah.
like sometimes, like even with money, you know, I end up saying my financial management is awful, right? So my father would be like, okay, where is you want to do this? Where is the money going to come from?
Correct.
And I'm like, but that's not my problem. Literally, he said, what does that mean? I'm like, my problem is that the universe has come and it's given me this opportunity. Now it's the universe's problem to find a way to pay
Make
for
it
it.
happen.
And it's always worked.
Actually.
It's like the craziest thing, because
Yeah.
sometimes literally I'm like, okay, I don't know where the money is going to come from.
It comes.
And I'm just like, okay, actually, like every time I've tried for it to make a plan, it's never happened. I just believe that it's going to come to me by the end of the month, or when I need it, it'll be there.
Yeah.
And it's always happened. So for me, manifestation is genuinely just gratitude today and surrender and just believe that it has to happen. Like there is no other way.
I completely agree with that. Like I don't consider
Failure as an option. Yeah.
You know, like and like I've said, there've been so many times with faith where I've stopped and thought, oh no, where am I?
Yeah.
Where's it gonna go? And every time I've never thought that. There have been times where I've thought I'm tired,
Yeah.
I'm exhausted, but there's never been a time where I've thought that faith will fail. And that I think is that unwavering, you know, ki
Belief.
मैं होने ही नहीं दूंगी. Like even if everything in the universe is working against me, I will not let this fail. Right? I will make it happen.
Okay, so I have to ask you this: that what is your team strength as of today?
15 full-time people.
15 full-time people. When you're hiring, right, and when you are deciding the people that you want to grow with, how much of that is based on you feeling like this person's energy works with my company?
All of it. I've made some bad hires
Yeah.
in the past.
Yeah.
And it comes down to, of course, partial the work quality,
Yeah.
but more so the cultural fit.
Yeah.
Like I very much believe in, I'm not one of those people that says work is family and family is best friends. And look, I'm running a business and it is a business at the end of the day. And if I get too personal, it's not going to work for anybody.
Of course.
My coworkers can be friends, they can be best friends, but I have to maintain a certain boundary. But that being said, if you don't ensure that the newest family member being added
Yeah.
to that company fits in with everybody else, that's
Yeah.
broker failure.
And do you feel like that has, like, are you someone that picks up on people's energies?
Extremely sensitive to a fault. Where sometimes if I'm around someone whose energy I feel like maybe their energy is good to other people, maybe it's not good to me.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe they're just having an off day. I will absorb that to the point where I will not be able to do what I need to do because it'll just bring me so down.
So when you were, say, are in an interview, has it ever happened that you've hired someone whose energy you feel like wasn't right,
Yes.
was like the perfect fit on paper,
Yes.
and then turned out to be a bad decision?
Absolutely. Not many, okay, that's bad. Twice it's happened. And I've had to let go of that person.
And then eventually you're just like, okay, I am just going to make sure that when someone walks into my office for an interview or whatever, you have to sort of, and that vibe is not, you know, it's like
You
people
can't
get
define
the,
it.
people don't, I mean, oftentimes people kind of are like, you're judgmental. And I get that a lot, that how can you just judge someone you've seen for like 2 minutes?
Yeah.
You don't know
You
anything
get
about
the-
this
you
person.
get- I
I'm
feel
like,
like some people are very attuned and sensitive to that energy. Like
yeah,
sometimes, for me, it doesn't sometimes happen in the first go.
yeah,
So many times, 90% of times happen in the first go. But with hiring, because people are so well put together in their first go, that it takes a couple of meetings to realize.
yeah,
So now I have markers, you know, how will I determine how this person will react in the situation? How important is honesty to this person,
Yeah.
loyalty to this person? And sometimes that vibe has come off a little bit later.
yeah.
It's I've not known it in the
Immediately
first
known.
meeting,
Yeah.
but I've known it soon enough to know that this person needs to be let go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you always kind of go with that, right?
Always.
Because-
always.
I mean, I feel like over the years, I've realized that people who depleted my energy, I feel like whenever I'm around them, I
The
can't,
life out of
I
it.
just can't be at my 100%. So now, you know, because of the nature of my work, I feel like I need to be at like my 100% energy level at every given point in time. So if I have to even attend a party, which is, I feel like, you know, there are going to be people there where my energy doesn't kind of work with theirs. And they don't have to be bad people.
No, they must be great people.
Great people. But just my...
I don't sync with them
Yeah,
well.
yeah, exactly. I would not go because I feel like, also I feel like my life has become that much better over
Yeah.
a period of time when I've just surrounded myself with people whose energy resonates.
I 100% do the same thing. Sometimes it might offend people.
Yeah.
And of course, you'll have to explain not that way, but certain way or the other. But I avoid actively situations in which I feel emotionally depleted because it's not worth that party is not worth it to me.
Okay, tell me in terms of you've been doing Faye for like 4 years now, right? How do you feel like your life path is different from that of people around you? Because it is, for anyone who kind of chooses to, I mean, I have no shame in saying that my life is very different from anyone around me. Like there is literally like every time I introduce myself as an astrologer, there's
There's
almost
a
like
reaction.
what?
Yeah.
How will you read my hand? Like it's never, oh great. It's it's not a normal sort of like a profession where you say, oh, I'm an astrologer, and they'll just be like, oh, nice to hear
Cool.
that.
Yeah.
There is always a reaction,
Yeah,
right?
there is a reaction.
So for me, I had to battle a lot of that society
It's tough.
situation, and eventually, this is my personal experience. I feel like when you're starting out with something, there's going to be a certain people that will believe in you. There'll be also certain people that will be like, has she lost her mind? What was she thinking? In your case, it could have been like, who leaves that job to come back and start a beauty brand?
Yeah.
What was she thinking? Does she really think she's going to make it?
Yeah.
And those are the same people that could now be buying your products.
Sure.
Because for me, these people who were judging me when, and see, nobody said anything to me, but you can see.
You can see on
you
their
can
face.
see on their face, right?
They're like really worried for you.
They're like,
are you sure?
oh, really? Like,
Yeah.
are you sure you want to do this? But today they're my clients.
Yeah.
So was that at any point in time, like, you felt like you were doing something so different from what your peers were doing? People also, I mean, we're women, right? So there's always that pressure of like, are you getting married?
Yeah.
When are you going to have kids? Time is running out. We have a biological clock.
Yeah.
How much of that has happened to you?
I think I'm very blessed in this arena.
Yeah.
Honestly. I already mentioned that my parents were like big advocates
Yeah.
of whatever I chose to do in my career. With my friends as well, I think again I privileged enough to come from a college where every single person in my friend group is so career driven.
Yeah.
Like I have very few housewife friends.
Oh, really?
Very, very, very few, And those who are, I'm like, wow, great life. Like,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
not really,
I would want that. Yeah.
So for me, it was like, I never got that resistance. I always got, wow, you got guts, like
Yeah.
in a good way. Like one of my closest childhood friends still today, every time I meet her, she's like, I tell all my friends in America that I have one friend in India who has her own company, So I think for me, that energy has actually led to where I am today, which was, I never had to explain that why am I doing this? Those questions, that dialogue I had in my head, who will buy beauty products from Mirando? My friends didn't have that question. They were like, oh, of course you'll make a beauty brand. Of course you'll set up a beauty brand. Because in college, at 3 a.m. in a club, when people are like looking for pizza, you're looking for like your foundation compact in your bag and doing a touch-up. Like, that was my personality, So for them, it was like, makes sense, go for it,
Yeah, actually,
I'm really lucky with my support system.
Because so many of my clients will be are people who've been miserable in their jobs.
Yeah.
Have not had the courage to do what they want to do, you know, because a lot of times it's societal pressure. A lot of times it's, how can we just kind of leave that 9-to-5 job?
That I got a lot, Like when I came back to India, a lot of my Indian friends who had maybe not studied abroad with me were like, are you crazy? Why do you come here?
Yeah.
Like, America is amazing.
Yeah.
And all that. Typical.
Yeah, that's what
I'm like, it seems amazing. Every coin has two sides.
How important was it for you to follow your passion? Was that
the most important? That's why I left my job. I was working like 80 hours a week for someone else.
Yeah.
I was in a strategy role at a consulting company that involved, at that particular point, a project that was laying off people.
Yeah.
I was laying off like 50-year-old aunties. I was like, what am I doing? Who am I? I'm 23, 24, 25. Why am I doing this? And so I was like, if I'm going to work this hard now, I'll work for myself. Otherwise, I'd rather enjoy myself a little bit more.
I also feel like a lot of people don't find their passion.
It's very tough.
It's, so did you, like for you, you said that it was just something that was there. Instinctively there. Were you like a spiritual person growing up?
I'm still very spiritual.
Yeah.
And very like, I believe in God. I seek like that sort of direction whenever things are really, really tough. I wouldn't say I'm super religious, but I'm super spiritual. And I think that I used to see this a lot early on. Like before I came back to India, I made a list of reasons why I should come back to India. And one of the reasons was I'm actually lucky enough to know what I like.
Yeah.
A lot of people are doing their careers to figure out what they like. But if I only know, then I should follow that.
And do you think that came from a place of spiritual clarity in some way? Because you were
spiritual clarity back then.
so okay, when I was growing up, I was very intuitive, like just ridiculously intuitive. I was never going to imagine I would end up being an astrologer, but I knew that I was going to follow my gut every step of the way.
Yeah.
But it's very hard to even get to a point to realize what your gut wants. And at that point in time, you don't think you're spiritually awakened. But you always sort of know that you believe in something that's greater. You know how to pick up the signs. You know that something is happening for a reason. I have, before I got into astrology, I did a bunch of things that did not work out for me.
Right.
And so I can't say that, oh my God, the first time I did something that turned out to be
a success.
Yeah, I mean, I still love art. I did that for a few years and I did design, and that's something that I really still enjoy. But I feel like what I'm doing now is my true calling. But that's because I was consistent enough for 10 years to keep going after what felt right to me, right? So I feel like a lot of that just came from, obviously, as you evolve, you grow older, you also spiritually kind of come to a place.
Yeah.
But like, especially in our generation, there are not a lot of people. I don't know if there are actually, because I do have a lot of clients who are our age. I don't know if, the more they seek, I feel like the more clarity they tend to get. So a lot of people who are stuck in their jobs are also people who are now starting to seek or start doing meditation. And yeah, so do you feel like the fact that maybe you didn't have spiritual clarity then, but you still had something, like you said, you were like intuitive and you had like a gut feeling where you felt like this is something that I'm born to do, or I'm born to sort of explore. What, in your opinion, was that level of spirituality that you had then?
So
I clarity is clarity, I feel like.
Spiritual awakening of sorts came at the age of 25.
Yeah.
When I was going through a really difficult time in life, personally, professionally. I mean, I hadn't started Faye yet. I had the idea for Faye.
Yeah.
I was working on manufacturing the products, and I was very lost. I was very lonely. I was, I think, dabbling with what it now felt like to live in India.
Yeah.
And I met someone at a party, a random person, right? I'd never met this person before in my life. And I noticed the person was wearing a ring. It was a man. So what's that ring? Because I don't know. I hadn't seen boys at that age, my age, wearing rings. It's like a snake. He said,
the Sadhguru ring.
Sadhguru ring. And I said, you follow a priest?
Yeah.
You're like 25. What are you doing? And I mean, he kind of told me a little bit, very, very briefly about how Sadhguru had changed his life completely. Yeah. And he had certain experiences in life that were kind of not fixed, but like he got the ability to deal with them or improve his life because of it. And I, at that point, had tried everything to fix my mental, emotional, physical health, and nothing was working.
And what were those things? Were they more external?
From, therapy to working out to eating right to
so basically more external.
I did everything except for work, mainly on the spiritual side of it. And so he told me about this, and I swear I'd never met the guy before.
Yeah.
I went onto the Isha Yoga Foundation website and I found the next course available. And a week I went to Coimbatore without my phone, without anybody I knew.
Yeah.
And came back a different person. And I mean, today, 5 years later, my relationship with Sadhguru and that sort of part of my life is very different. It's much more evolved because I think at that time I was very naive and I would believe what I was sort of given.
Yeah.
Today I have my own opinion about the situation. But that was my awakening in terms of that connection with myself, that connection with God, that connection with spirituality, and the ability to have I just learned certain lessons in that experience that equipped me till today to go through life. Like, for example, I strongly believe in this mantra. And it's a Sadhguru mantra.
Yeah.
It's, this moment is inevitable.
Yeah.
It means that right now, in this moment, while I'm talking to Harshna, this moment is is going to happen no matter what I do.
Yeah.
If it starts raining outside, if it starts lightning outside,
Yeah.
I don't know, whatever could happen in the world outside, but
Yeah.
this moment is as it is.
Yeah.
And that, while it's in a pleasant moment, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's a normal thing to hear.
Yeah.
But when you're going through something really difficult,
Yeah.
it's very helpful to have those grounding beliefs. So that is what changed my perspective towards my life. And I think that person who taught me or introduced me to Sadhguru came into my life
Just for that
just
purpose.
for that. He came in, he changed my life, and he exited.
And he exited. And you
Yeah.
probably don't even,
I mean, my friends.
you don't really have an active sort of friendship with that person, right?
Not anymore.
And do you think that like just being on this path, and it's not something that you have to kind of work on every day,
Yeah.
even if you do, that's great. But do you think that kind of helped you to nurture faith in the way that you have?
100%. It gave me so much faith. It gave me so much. It gave me the ability to deal with the not animosity, but difficult things that I was going to experience in this journey. And it's a very, very, very
Taught
difficult
you
situation.
maybe like more surrender.
Yes.
It taught you more faith.
Absolutely. Just it didn't change my life or what was going to happen in my life, but it changed how I approached the reaction to those.
I've noticed this a lot now with people who've kind of followed different life paths, whether it's in the creative space or in an entrepreneur way, that their belief in the fact that there's something larger than them, there's something larger than hard work. I actually had a client of mine who said to me that I want to, he was doing a press release, or I think it was like a PR, somebody is writing an article on him. He said, what I really want to say in my article is that at the end of the day, so much of it is destiny.
Yeah.
But he's like, it just doesn't sell, you know? He's like, I went back to my PR team and I said, this is what I want to write about. And they're like, you can't, you have to write about how much hard work you do and how much, you know, you struggle every day and the challenges and how you overcome those challenges. But he's like, so much of it is your inner ability to be able to deal with situations. And I've noticed now that these are people who are actually more awakened because they've seen so much, and then they find coping mechanisms there because they realize like your outside is not, there's so much that you can do on the other. You can work out, you can eat right, but it doesn't give you mental clarity. And without mental clarity, you can't be exceptional.
No.
I feel like if you want to be exceptional at anything, you have to find a way to reach that mental clarity. And a lot of that will only come through inner work.
Agreed.
And for me, I feel like in the last 3 years, the way or the reason I've been able to do the work that I do is because I think my core has become so zen.
Yeah.
That everything just seems so much easier. Me being able to take decisions has become so much easier. Like my decision to be able to take up astrology professionally was the hardest decision of my life.
Yeah.
But everything ever since then, because I just decided, I'm like, I think a big part of my spiritual awakening came then, that now it's become, the whole thing has become so easy that you just kind of breeze through it. And I see
Yeah.
that with so many of my clients, that over a period of time, even people who are older, like 60-year-olds who believe in it the most.
Yeah.
Because they're like, we've seen it for like 30 years, 40 years.
Yeah, I feel like if I knew today, I mean, if I knew at 25 and I know today, I would have done this so much better. Like,
Yeah,
you just
because
keep learning.
But I feel like people now in their 20s are becoming more aware.
For sure.
Which is why I feel like people in this, like our kind of professions, different, have a lot more spiritual maturity than people who are doing 9-to-5 jobs. And I really believe that if people can sort of find one way, even if it's like a smallest thing that they can do to find some sort of like a spiritual situation to be like connected with whatever you have on the inside. And I get asked this a lot, like, what is there on the inside? You know, I don't even know what to
How
say.
do you explain?
How do you explain that? I'm like, but how?
So many things.
Yeah, like, and I feel like so much of actual happiness comes from there.
Yeah.
You know, how many milestones have you hit in your life and you've been thrilled about it for the rest of the month?
Yeah.
You know, you'll hit a milestone, and in that moment you're just like, this is amazing, and you're happy for like
A few minutes.
a few
days.
minutes, a few days at most. Because everyone talks about like, oh my God, we have to find, you hit this milestone and you hit that milestone, you find happiness, but you actually,
You have to be happy all the time.
until you fall in love with the process, you can't like reach happiness. And a lot of that process comes from being spiritually somewhere
Yeah.
and some sort of like inner work.
Correct.
Do you do any inner work actively?
Uh,
I think for everyone it's different.
I don't think I do.
What is, do you like zone out every day
Oh my
for a
God.
bit?
Okay, if you call that inner work, then for sure. Like, I have days of the week. I mean, they're not designated days.
Yeah.
But I will look forward to at least a few days a week where I don't meet anyone. I don't talk to anybody. I come home from my office and have dinner with my family. I go to my room. I watch a murder mystery or I watch some sort of serial killer documentary. And that is my inner work.
You know,
where I don't have to do anything. I talk to anyone.
This is what needs to be normalized.
Yes.
Because when people say, and so many people come to me and they're like, oh, you know, we don't meditate. I'm like, but you know what you need to do? Not everyone
to be
needs to
alone.
meditate. In fact, this is what I tell people now. I feel like the day that I have to meditate is a bad day. Because I
you
need,
to sit down and actively be like, now I will meditate.
like for me, if I'm meditating, for me that's a bad day because I need to become Zen. Because I'm not in a place of
be
Zen.
in that state.
For me, I want to be in that state all day, and the only way I can achieve that, and it's the biggest joke in my house, is that she just needs space all the time.
I actually am the same.
You know, like I
thrive on
can't
being
function.
alone.
For me, when people say, what is your inner work? My inner work is just leave me alone for a few hours in a day. I don't have to talk to anyone. I just need to let my space just happen.
Yeah.
I can want to, like for me, I feel like I say this as an occupational hazard. I need to watch Netflix every day.
I agree.
For like 45 minutes
if
a
I
day.
don't watch 20 minutes, 30 minutes of TV before I sleep now, I feel like I'm not lived.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, my inner work actually is me sitting in my office where there is nobody around. I'm not seeing any humans. I'm just, sometimes I read, sometimes like I'll read, I love reading scriptures. So I'll pick up some scripture, I'll read that, or I'll just do nothing.
Yeah.
I'm just, so many times, my office is on a terrace, so you can see like a lot of greenery, you can see the sky. I just make myself a cup of coffee and I'm looking out. For me, that is my inner work.
I feel like my inner work comes from my time with my dog as well.
Yeah.
I have a dog and I think I need my 20-30 minutes a day where I'm just sitting with her. And there's nothing happening. I'm talking to her sometimes. We're just vibing. Like, you know, it's just me and myself at that time.
Because this is my belief that even with spirituality, we have managed to put them in so many different boxes.
Yeah.
This is the right way to do it. You are spiritually awakened. If you're not following what is your, what meditation do you do? And this is genuinely my belief. I feel like people need to stop putting pressure on how you have to be Zen.
Correct.
You know, like everyone is so different.
Yeah.
And everyone's going to find or going to have such different versions of finding the happiness.
And some people, Zen is going out for a night of partying.
Yeah.
For me, it's the opposite.
For me also, sometimes I just want to sit at home and I want to like have a drink by myself.
Alone, cook a meal.
Yeah, listen to like Sufi music.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy. For me, that is like, oh my God, the moment, like what comes into my head on that point in time where I am like not around people and I'm just doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I say this to literally like, now my parents and my family has become okay with it, but initially they thought I was crazy. They're like, what is wrong with you?
You know,
like why do you want to be alone?
Social being.
Yeah. I'm like, but I don't need to be with anyone. Like initially at some point also people start feeling like you're depressed if you want to spend time by yourself.
But I'm very happy being alone. In fact, I'm the happiest sometimes.
Yeah, I feel like this is something that I tell my clients. I said, you don't have to like become a yogi.
Yeah, no.
Just spend time with yourself and you'll know what you want to do. You'll know what you like. So much of clarity just comes from zoning out.
Yeah.
And you can zone out listening to music. You can zone out trying to center your brain. I don't think that it works for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like shutting your eyes and like sitting in
you just end up thinking about things.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
The best. Yeah.
So I feel like just spirituality in itself needs to be normalized in a way that you do you.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people
you doing you.
Yeah.
No matter what it means, if you like bungee jumping, then you go bungee jumping. If you
Yeah.
like cooking, you cook. If you don't want to, I don't know, party, you party. Do what you want, but do you.
And that's
live for yourself.
Yeah. That is actual real spirituality, is to be able to just be you and to be able to own
who you are.
Who you are.
Yeah.
And we are so consumed by trying to do things the
And
right way.
fit into society's
fit into
mold.
society. Yeah, for me, that is genuinely like, especially in our generation now and in the time of social media, I hate to say it, as good as it is for most things, I feel like it's made everything so unrealistic from like a societal way that, and that's also a big part of your brand, right?
Yeah. It's something I struggle with a lot, Archana, because as a human being, I'm very guarded and I'm very private.
Yeah.
But my company and my work requires me to be very public about that aspect of my life, right? When I say public, I mean it could be something as simple as putting out a beauty tutorial, right? For me, that's very public.
Yeah.
Because I'm a very, very like guarded person.
Yeah.
And there have been multiple times in my life where I've thought about, I'm going to go off social media because it's so toxic. It's so like you're aspiring to live a life that someone is showing you.
Yeah, that someone else is living.
But you don't know the reality.
Yeah.
You and I mean, we've seen instances where what you see is not what's actually happening behind closed doors. You know, something might look like a fairy tale, but it's not.
Yeah.
And so I have thought about on multiple occasions, I mean, cut this off. But because of my business,
You can't.
so I just make a conscious decision to restrict my time.
Like I have struggled with social media from day one. Like all of my work has grown primarily because of word of mouth. That's it. No one's ever seen me post on Instagram, and it's awful because
I mean, I know people, smart business people will say they're not harnessing the power.
Yeah,
And that is true.
Maybe I should, and I really hope that I'm able to do that in the coming year.
You will,
But I feel like society and social media has it's just become such a toxic space that when we talk about being you, it's become so much lesser now.
Yeah.
Because everyone is trying to live other people's dreams.
Absolutely. And you know what? Nobody's dream is a dream. Everybody has nightmares as well.
Literally.
But we only see the dreams. So nobody knows what reality actually is anymore.
Yeah.
And it's so sad because some of us can see that. A lot of people aspire to that life. So it's just
no, but I think it's most people now, because I also feel like with fashion, people don't dress the way that. Like I feel like there were so many more style icons before. Like now everyone's just following trends because everyone's following trends, right?
Yeah.
So when I say, like when I talk about detachment, I talk about spiritual growth. You cannot grow spiritually if you're trying to follow other people's dreams.
You can't.
Literally, my first conversation when people are like depressed about where they're at is like, you need to try and just kind of detach yourself from what other people are expecting of you. Of like trying to keep up appearances. Initially, people are going to be like, what are you doing? You know, why are you doing this? People have become so insecure of just being themselves.
Yeah.
And that is the opposite of happiness. That is the opposite of spiritual growth. That is the opposite of actually finding real happiness today, right?
Yeah.
This is like the tone of most of my readings with people who are younger is that you've got to stop keeping up with other people's expectations. I had someone who was like, I don't want to go to parties, but my friends have now started to think that I'm boring. So,
you know, it's so sad.
You know, so much of you being able to be happy and be spiritually somewhere comes from just trying to own who you are.
Right.
And that is what I think you are trying to achieve with your brand.
I mean, that's the genesis of faith.
Yeah.
It's you be beautiful the way you desire to be beautiful. Like, you don't have to be fair to be beautiful. You don't have to be thin to be beautiful. You don't have to be tall to be beautiful. You're beautiful because you feel inside that you are beautiful.
How do your campaigns do when you...
In the beginning, it was really tough because people back then were not used to seeing unphotoshopped, unfiltered images of women who might not have been usually represented in beauty.
Yeah.
But we stuck to it, honestly. We were like, okay, for some people, it might be a tough pill to swallow. But for maybe 5 people, that is the representation that they've desired their whole lives. So we stuck to it, and today it's the strongest USP for our brand, right? It's like...
You don't filter at all?
Nothing. We've never used Photoshop in terms... Of course, we use Photoshop if we're going to add like a product in this
of course.
frame. But like, I've never touched anyone's skin. We've never lightened anyone's skin. We never removed upper lip hair from a photograph. And that was like, when we worked with photographers, they were like, are you sure?
Yeah.
I mean, these are like experienced guys who've done beauty. And they're like, are you sure? Because that's not what sells.
Yeah.
And we said, we're sure, because while it might be a slower growth curve, when you get there,
Yeah.
and I feel like we're getting there,
Yeah.
the loyalty is so much
Yeah.
stronger because your community actually trusts you.
Yeah.
They actually know that when you say you want to be inclusive, you're going to do everything you can to
Yeah.
do that. It's not just a marketing tick mark
Tick
for
mark. And a
the
lot of
free
people do
team.
that.
Yeah, it's so performative and it's so irritating because it neutralizes the work that a lot of other people are doing. You
Yeah.
know? So for us, our campaigns do fantastically now because we just believe in one basic ethos. Let's be authentic.
Yeah.
Unabashedly authentic. People who want it, I mean, people who can understand it will understand it. People who can't understand it are not our target audience.
And I think that also comes from that being a very core part of who you are.
Yeah.
That's like literally, I feel like when we've spoken, that's literally what you believe in as a person.
Very
And
good
that
analysis.
is what eventually then translates.
It was very personal for me, honestly. Like I felt like I don't want, if I can help other women have better experiences with themselves,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that.
And I think it goes beyond women, right?
It's people, rather.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
I'm speaking from my perspective, but it's people, right?
Yeah.
It's anyone who wants to use makeup, honestly, or feel
And
beautiful,
I
which
think
is everyone.
I think like Faye has always been very inclusive
Yes.
of all
All
kinds of people.
Absolutely.
And that I feel like comes again from like your inner work or just having very core principles and being able to trust your gut and instinct and say this is probably one of those things where people said you shouldn't be doing.
Yes.
And you felt
People
like
were very weirded out when
Yeah.
you put certain types of people. Not weirded out, but I wouldn't say, I mean, weirded is harsh word, but people would be like, are you sure?
Yeah.
This is not beauty.
And
You
was your
know?
team always on
My team is always on the same page because
Yeah.
we don't hire people who don't get this, right? If I have a person saying, yeah, isko thoda light bana lete, and I'm like, please up.
you walk out of the door. Yeah.
So we've never had that conversation in my team because everybody's been on the same page.
Yeah.
But external people, sometimes even customers,
Yeah.
they don't get it. I mean, but now they do.
Yeah.
Now they see the business case for it. So they
Because,
get it.
and this is why I was asking you before, right? That how many times have you done something that people have opposed and you just felt so strongly about it, and that's what kind of eventually got you to where you are.
Yeah, I mean, there's a very specific instance. We shot our first campaign with a model who had very textured skin, very dusky, very textured. And unfortunately or fortunately, the lighting in which we shot that campaign in, it sort of enhanced that texture. Like it was very obvious. Now, most beauty brands would Photoshop that out.
And that was
we didn't.
intentional?
I
Or
mean,
that
we
just
don't-
happened?
We didn't want to enhance our texture.
Yeah.
But we shot in the same light that we shot with everybody else. Now, over time, I learned that you need to shoot in different light with
setup.
duskier people and different light with lighter people, of course. But back then, we decided, wait, we don't care
Yeah.
if people don't like this. We, as in me and my team, we're going to put it out there. And people lost their mind. They were like, how can you show an ugly woman?
And that was the backlash you got on social media.
Social media. These are not people I know.
Yeah.
Like I said, very blessed in that area.
Yeah.
How can you show an ugly woman? How can you expect me to buy this lipstick? All I can focus is on her acne. All I can focus is on her deep skin. You have intentionally made her look ugly to prove a point. And that was a tough day for us because we were a small brand, right?
And how many years ago was this?
This was in the first 2 months of the brand.
What?
First 2 months. And I was like shaken up. I was like, what are we doing? You know, like if people can't handle this,
Yeah.
are we just in a bubble of people who are very woke and very welcoming? And I decided, and you know, an advisor of mine called me up and said, you should take it down. It's bad. It's bad news, you know. I said, I'm not taking it down. I don't care because there are probably 100 girls who look like her,
Yeah.
who would feel a little less unseen when they
Yeah.
see this image. And we didn't. And we continue to do what we do. And today we are
And that is your USP
appreciated for
today.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
That is so inspiring.
Yeah. It was, I remember that day, like, it's like Kodak moment in my head, you know?
Yeah, they're always like for me, it was, I think a very dear friend of mine, and I just told him that I want to do astrology professionally. And he said, you cannot. He
It's so
said,
sad.
and I know for him, it was probably coming from a
protective
from a
place.
place of like, you know, bro, not a lot of people are going to understand that. And like, keep doing this for like, and I used to do this a lot just for everyone. And I never ever thought actually that I was going to take this up professionally. But it was almost instantaneous, right? The minute I said that this is what I want to do professionally, and he said, no, you cannot. And I was like, but I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
And it's and I say this a lot, that I have worked so hard on everything else that I've done in my life.
Yeah.
But never ever gotten anywhere. And I feel like a lot of that had to just kind of bring me and I actually learned astrology, and I started studying astrology because I was like, life is just not working out because everything I do is a failure. And that failure kind of then took me to wanting to understand what
Why
destiny
it
is
Yeah.
and why.
So it's meant to be.
So it was like, how does luck unfold, right? Because I've been so unlucky.
Yeah.
And that has eventually led me to here. And I don't think I worked very hard
Astrology.
with astrology. Like it was the
Destiny, right?
it was like the one thing in my life that just, when it started happening, it just started happening. You know, it just started to fall into place in ways that I could have honestly, literally never imagined. Yeah. So it was that, you know, it's that one like Kodak moment for,
Yeah.
it was my Kodak moment. It
Yeah.
was like, no, I can't, like, I have to do it,
Yeah.
you know?
It's like a calling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I hope more people can find that.
I hope everyone finds calling because it gives you a lot of fulfillment.
I think that's where and a lot of people actually say that, people who've made it in their lives, they're like, it's not the destination, you know?
It's the journey.
It's the journey.
It's like when, like, forgive me,
Every
when
day
shit's hitting the
almost
fan,
is, yeah.
and you still want to go to work.
Yeah.
Means you're doing the right thing, right?
Like-
It's like, oh my God, my work is going to be so difficult.
Like so
I'm
stressful.
ready.
Yeah. Because you want to,
Yeah.
that's the thing about calling, right? You can have difficult days, but
Yeah.
you still
You're doing it
want
for the right
to do it.
reasons.
And I feel like the happiness and joy that you get out of being able to follow your passion or your gut or your calling. And I recently also met someone, she's super successful. And when she asked me, how did you get into astrology? I just said it was, you know, it just happened. I was like, I didn't choose this career chose me.
Yeah.
And she was like, I am so thrilled
To hear
that. It was the first time
Yeah.
that someone actually turned around and said, I am so happy that you found your calling, because not a lot of people do. And
People finish their entire careers without finding their calling, honestly.
And I think I don't know how it happens. I think it's got something to do with, in fact, or actually in her words, she said that if you just go with the flow.
Yeah.
And she said that if you just trust the universe enough and you follow the signs and you go with the flow, you will reach there.
Okay.
And we as humans tend to compartmentalize our lives so much that we don't want to go with the flow.
Yeah.
You know, it's like almost like
Hyper controlling.
we're hyper controlling. We want to be at 23, we want to be here. At 27, we want to be there. At 35, we want to be here.
Yeah.
There's so many people who get married under the pressure of, we have to be married at this age.
Yeah,
we want to
my
have children
God,
at this age. Where do you give yourself the space to find something that you love doing?
Yeah.
You know, so when I was having this conversation with her, I was like, wait, hold on. I think everything that I believe in, everything that I actually kind of have always spoken about on the podcast as well, is this, that you just got to take the signs sometimes.
Agreed.
And actually just get yourself out of the boxes, right? Yeah. The boxes of trying to figure out everything. That people who say, no, we have to be financially independent at 30. What if that's not your journey?
It might not be, and there might be something bigger and better in place.
Exactly.
That's something that you taught me.
Yeah.
Actually, you know, I know exactly what you're talking about, because if you're restricting yourself in what you're supposed to do,
Yeah.
at a particular age, you're missing out on something that's
Meant to be. Yeah, because we had that conversation multiple times actually. And I was like, you have to just believe that
my timing in life
your
is different.
time is different.
Exactly.
Like there's so many, you know, because inspiring stories. We look at all these people who made it at like 40, 45 and we're like, oh wow. Like look at that story and look at how this person's gotten married to at 40 to someone who is 60 and is flourishing. Or whatever the circumstances, no, we are not even willing to take that risk.
Exactly. If I told you marry a 40-year-old, or not even, if I told you marry a 45-year-old today, I mean, I don't know how you'd react. I mean, that's the thing where like,
so we look at those people and
like,
we just be like, oh my God, wow, just look at their life. But these are people who are willing to take that risk, right? And there's so many inspiring people
they're
like
not
that.
confining themselves to what society thinks
is
a right or wrong decision.
And I feel like that, in my opinion, is like when you have really conquered life, is when you just stop caring about how life should be.
Yeah.
Just literally
live in the moment.
Every day as it comes. Stop worrying about will you be able to conceive at 35, because I know people who are 24 do not conceive.
Can't. Yeah.
You know, so there is no guarantee in life for anything. There is no guarantee that Like I have someone who would tell me, but you're 30 and you're not married. And, the boys are running out. All good boys are married at 27.
All good people are also divorced at 30.
And I would tell him, I said, all of those good boys you're talking about are back on the market
Yes.
at 30.
They finished their round
Yeah,
and came back.
exactly.
So it's okay.
So, it's still that mentality is still so prevalent today. And these are not, I'm not talking about uneducated people. These are
These are
educated
people
people,
from
city
societies like
people.
ours,
These are people we are talking
It's
to.
because they're conditioned to believe
We are,
that.
I don't know if it's an Indian thing. I also think it's very prevalent actually in the West. The milestones and the pressure of the milestones is unbelievable.
It's
I think the
unreal.
biggest challenge that people our age or actually at any age face is to kind of find a way out of this mold, just to be able to even do one aspect in your life, even to be able to do it in your career or to be able to do it in your personal life or even to be able to do it in like,
one phase.
even with friends. I feel like there's so much pressure of like wanting to be seen in a certain kind of
Circle. Dress a certain way, behave a certain way.
We don't realize that we have literally normalized this herd mentality. We have normalized that everyone has to have the same life.
Yeah.
Everyone, if you're not having that life, then something is wrong with you.
Yeah.
So for me, like the aim with astrology, and I've been doing it now for 3 years. I've been doing it professionally for 3 years, is to be able to tell people that everyone's life is different. Everyone's journey is different. There's 8 billion of us.
Oh my God, yeah.
How are we going to have
You can't have 8 billion
similar
stories.
life paths? How is that possible? You have to break out of that mold. You have to break out of what you're meant to do. Because any form of greatness, whether it's happiness in a relationship, whether it's actually having relationships in like your friend circle that are fulfilling, or it's happiness in like your workspace, is only going to come once you've gotten out of that comfort zone. And I'm sure for you also, that's what has happened, right?
For sure. I mean, I had to accept that my career trajectory is not as stable, not as secure as a lot of my peers.
Yeah.
And that was very difficult because it meant a lot of sacrifice at certain stages of my life in terms of being able to spend time with them, being able to do things that they were doing, being able to be more spontaneous in life. I couldn't do all those things. But now it makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Because I'm at a place.
And you're probably happier than a lot of your friends.
Maybe. Like I have a lot. I mean, I know one thing for sure. I'm very happy in my career. Right? As difficult as it has been, it's exactly what I'm meant to be doing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I made the right decision. For sure.
That's really amazing. And I've admired you. I'm also a Faye customer, right? I have been using Faye for a very long time. I'm actually wearing Faye today.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I am, you're obviously doing something right. And I'm really happy for you.
I mean, I feel the same about you. I thought about life very differently until I met you, which is almost 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, people who are like astrologer, I'm like, thank God you're an astrologer because you showed a lot of clarity, not just to me, but to so many people I know.
That's
so I think
sweet.
you're doing God's work in my eyes.
Well, that's really sweet. Thank you.
Honestly.
Thank you.